Well, it's a very pleasant day out here. I'm deep in the woods, as you can hear the birds singing. It's a wonderful summer's day, and I'm in Frinton Park. And with me is Roger Diggins. We're doing some overground archaeology. What are we up to, Roger?
Well, what are we indeed? We're actually standing, would you believe, in a shopping centre. It seems hard to believe it with sounds of birds in the background, but we're in fact in the centre of what was going to be Frinton Park. Now, Frinton Park was a wonderful plan of the 1930s, the mid-1930s, when some people got together and decided they would like to build a magnificent continental-styled seaside resort in the English countryside, or at least on the coast. And what happened basically was, men got together, decided to do this, and then rather mistakenly made the houses so expensive that no one could afford them. And what we're left with here is a kind of living ghost town.
So what's this building we're looking at now? It looks quite out of place, really, for the town of Frinton.
It's totally out of place. A lot of people call it the old fire station, not knowing exactly what it was. In fact, what we've got here is 1/4 of what was envisaged as being a shopping centre in the centre of the whole complex. If we look at a map of the original plan, we've still got the Walton Road, which runs through it as well, and we've got Central Avenue, which is still here and still called Central Avenue. But everything else, apart from this 1/4 of the centre, was never actually built. So what we've got is actually some discarded shop units.
And this quarter of a shop unit is next to the half a roundabout?
Yes, next to the half a roundabout, which if you drive past looks just like a little bit of a turning off, but of course we actually drove in the wrong way round, if you like. So if we'd done it 30 years ago, more than 50 years ago, we'd have actually been done for going round the roundabout the wrong way, which is lovely.
We trudged through the estate looking for the occasional Art Deco building. Set in their large gardens, and with the passage of time, they looked as if they'd always been there. Soon the woodland began to thin, and climbing uphill, we came into a clearing by a tall embankment.
There was going to be another station here for Frinton Park. It's going to have its own station, its own goods yard, and its own bank. All the services, everything were going to be constructed just at the back of the railway line along here.
So this is a bit of a development that never was, really.
Absolutely. All we've got left is a score of houses, which are still in occupation, which are actually becoming very much in vogue now. They were, for many years, not quite considered to be the sort of house to live in. They were flat roofed. Many of them were run down. They're actually listed now, and they're becoming very much sought after, funnily enough.
OK, there's the sea.
There it is.
Yes, we'd found the beach and the high point of our walk. Roger assured me that we'd find the palatial residence of an old-time movie star. And sure enough, set back on the cliff top, with a commanding view of the sea, was an Art Deco version of Hollywood.
Couldn't swear to this, but it's reputed by many of the locals it's called Hollywood because it belonged to Douglas Fairbanks Jr. Now, Frinton actually became not only a fairly expensive place to live, but a very trendy place to live. And many, many people like Douglas Fairbanks, we understand, made their way to the coast and bought houses. It's also reputed that Gracie Fields came here, the Aga Khan, and goodness knows who else. But certainly that name Hollywood, I'm sure, will ring a bell with many, many people who live in Frinton.
Whatever happened to the company that tried to build this very ambitious project?
I think in many ways they were victims of their own ambitions and also of circumstance. In terms of their own ambitions, they deliberately made the houses slightly on the expensive side. They even advertised in their advertising blurb to say that they want to keep out the plebs. That was actually written in black and white. And the prices somewhat reflected this, whoever the plebs might be. But great gaps were left in the whole plan, and eventually I think things in Europe weren't going too well about that time. A certain character by the name of Adolf Hitler came along and stirred things up a little bit. And maybe the seaside didn't seem such a good idea with war sort of looming in the distance. And I think basically the whole idea folded up and these houses were left, if you like, in splendid isolation. And gradually over the years there was infill with more modern, as it was then, type of houses. And the whole concept of Frinton Park as a continental-styled resort with the advent of war and everything that went with it gradually faded away, and we're just left with these magnificent monuments.